Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Red Room. I'm your host, Shay Samuels, and you are in for a treat. Another episode with some powerful, powerful, powerful information. I want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. And I know that you're going to be blessed. I have another amazing guest, one who is going to educate, one's going to give you information, one is really going to bless you. Talk a little bit about where he's come from and a little more about where he is and how he is helping the youth. I'm going to say around the world because I believe one touches one. I don't believe when you touch one youth that you can't touch others, because I think when you sow the seed that it ends up helping a multitude. So we're going to talk about that today. I have none other than Mr. Kendrick Tate with me, and you guys are going to learn so much. So sit still, don't turn the dial. You are going to get loaded with information today. So Mr. Kendrick Tate, how are you, sir?
I am doing well, Miss Shay. How are you doing?
I'm good. I love everybody asking me that. The song entitled I'm Good is one of my favorite songs because it's me, but I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know that there's a lot of information. We have such short period of time, but I believe we can get it done. I believe we can get it done. So first, tell the viewers who you are, a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Kendrick Tate. I am from Knoxville, Tennessee, born and raised. I am the baby of 7 kids. So I'm spoiled. Wow. I always been spoiled. Grew up in the inner city. And like I said, grew up in a big family, had 2 loving parents. Unfortunately, they both have gone right now, but they have instilled in me the resources and the willpower and the mindset to go on and continue not only living my story, but their story as well. So I'm a probation officer with Knox County Juvenile Court. Been doing this for 20 years. Been working with at risk at probably about the same amount of time. Also with been doing this work called Game Changers. It's a mentoring program that we're educating middle school boys on how to prevent violence against women and girls. So I've been doing that for about 4 years.
Wow.
So that's where I'm at right now. I'm heavy in the youth.
I love it. So listen here, there are some really good men out there doing some really good things. Not everybody on the street banging. Not everybody on the street trying to sell. Not everybody on the street ganging. There's some really good men who came from the inner city and they're giving back. You guys probably heard me on previous episodes where I said your pain can become your purpose. The things that you've been through can really allow you to open the door for other people. You just have to have that kind of like that mind transformation. So today, what we're going to be talking about, you heard him say he is a juvenile probation officer. And right now, as it stands, the world is just in so much turmoil as it pertains to gun violence. It pertains, listen, media is giving our children something not to think about, making it easy for them. You know, you got music videos that's showing kids with all this money, and they're showing kids that this is what life should look like. And anything outside of that, you are a failure. And I believe that's how those kids end up in your hand, Mr. Tate. They end up from watching the things that they watch, seeing the things that they see. They probably have aunts and uncles who are doing this and they look up to them, but somehow they end up in your hands and they end up in your care. And for most children, I have to say, they may not get a Mr. Tate. They may get someone who does not care about them, who knows now that they're in the system, they're going to keep them in the system. But I believe you work towards getting them to shift their mind so that they can come out of the system, but not only come out of the system, be better than they were before they got there. So I believe it's important for us to be able to, we talked before about community, but it takes a village to raise a child. So how do you become a part of that village, or how does someone even intertwine with themselves, becoming a part of that village?
I think first and foremost, you got to take a look at yourself. You got to do some self-evaluation and making sure that you putting your best foot forward. Because you can't be a shining light to individuals if you out here doing wrong, in my opinion. And so you got to check yourself as a man, and know it's one of those things. It's a want to. And I think growing up, I never thought that kids would, idolize me, not in the sense of like they idolize LeBron James or Kobe Bryant, but that respect factor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you know what? I know Mr. Tate, you know, he gonna hold me accountable. And I think growing up, that's what I had. I had other men hold me accountable. So I think in our communities,
yeah,
our downfall is we have not had enough, especially men that look like us.
yeah,
And you and me, we have not had those men in the community step
yeah.
up like they should have. Because I guarantee you, if we had done that, we would have so many. I may be out of a job. I'm just gonna put it
Wow.
to you like that.
Listen, y'all heard it here. Like he said, he might be put him out of a job. You know, I say, I dare you to put him out the job. But you know, there's a guy here, radio personality, and he talks a lot about men having to man up. And he made a point a couple of years ago where he said, it's unfortunate how men are afraid to even go to young boys and say, pull your pants up, because they're afraid of being shot. They're afraid of being disrespected. So they just let the kid do what they're going to do. And they don't, you know, get out the car and pump the gas for your mom. You know, there's nobody that sees that anymore and decides like, I need to intervene. Why do you think most men are afraid to intervene, especially with this generation?
And I think it goes back to getting out of your comfort zone. You know what I mean? A lot of men and just people in general, but I'm speaking directly to men that kid doesn't have any bearing on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it can't be like that because we go back talking about that village. You need that village. So if you get that village going, then you don't think like that. Because I've had kids that I don't know. And I have kids that come in that before me, and I give it what I call the speech.
Yes.
And I can't tell you what I say because I don't want to get beeped out on here. So, but it's the speech that hits home, and it's real.
Yes.
You know, I tell them, don't let the shirt and tie fool you. And when I give that speech, I'm aiming for their hearts.
Yes, that's so good. I love
aiming
that.
For their hearts. I want to touch their hearts. I want to touch their soul to let them know, yes, you don't know me and I don't know you, but I still love you. Yeah. And I'm gonna come from a place of where you can understand, where you can feel me, where you can't doubt it and be like, you know what? Be fake. You will never say that because you're gonna feel my words. And because what I do, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm an emotional individual, and my passion I just reek a passion. Yeah. And when kids see that, they like, you know what? Wow, that's real. That's real.
You know, one thing that you said, it kind of just really struck a nerve with me. You said a lot, but here's the thing. Kids still have a soul. They still have a heart. And no matter what the exterior looks like, no matter how they dress it up, they still have a soul. Mm-hmm. And if you take the time out to just talk with them, share passionately, not aggressively, not to chastise, not to tell them what they shouldn't do. Look, the Bible told us enough in the Old Testament what we shouldn't do. Right. The New Testament freed us. So these kids don't even know they need to be freed, right? They're being brought up in a community where the closest relatives are going back and forth to jail. So to them, that's what life is supposed to look like. They made it when they got behind the bars. Yep. Right? Am I right, Mr. Tate?
No, you're right.
They made it when they got behind the bars. There was a young man who said at a reunion I went to, he said he was glorifying the fact that he was behind bars. He said, I was sending my son pictures and I was showing what good time I was having. He said, and one day somebody said to him, what picture are you giving him to say that I'm back here, but I'm living life? He said, I stopped sending my son those type of pictures because he was glorifying it, not intentionally. He was just showing them, look, you know, I'm good. But if I'm showing my son that that's good, then what does he have to look forward to as he gets older? So I want to say that to someone who's listening today, somebody who's watching today, that you could be glorifying unintentionally the wrong thing. Know that your children are looking at you. Know that you are a model or an example of what they want to grow up to be one day. And no, you may not get it right. You really may not get it right, but you have an opportunity to give them a chance to just live. They have a heart and they have a soul. And what Mr. Tate said is the right word will prick them if you allow yourself to become uncomfortable. Yep. What do you have to say about that, Mr. Tate?
you said it all. I don't even know what to say. You clean the house on that one. But yeah, just to reiterate that, and I make it a point to tell my clients that I love them. I do.
Yes.
Because
Oh,
those three words are probably the three words that you never hear in a household that
yes.
you should.
Yes.
And even in my own life, I don't think I say it enough because we not on this precious earth for long, and you don't
No.
know when your time is gonna be. So
Yes.
the one thing I want my clients to know, like, I'm a stranger. I don't know you. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna pretend that I know you, but
Yes.
I see you and I love you, and I
Come
want you
on.
to know that I care about you, and you're not just
Yes.
another case to me. So that I
Yeah.
want my clients to always feel that when I work with them.
Now, the information that you're getting today, it really is to help free a family. I mean, that's basically what my goal is during this topic is to free a family. We go through enough of our own struggles, and we understand that, there's a lot of baggage that comes from one generation to the next, one generation to the next. But the one thing that's consistent is that we end up picking up the baggage somehow along the lines and adding our own mess. Can you imagine? Okay, let's just say this, like rock with me for just a second. Can you imagine a parent who has their own bag and they put one or two items in there? And then the kid grabs the bag and that one or two items of the parents is in there, but then they put three or four items in there. They grow up and then they end up having children. And the four items that they put in now, the children that they have six items that they're putting in there. And the baggage just grows. Eventually, it's going to be too hard for somebody to carry. And I believe that's who ends up in your system.
Nope, I totally agree. And people don't understand the cycle. And once you work in juvenile justice, you can clearly see the cycle. I can go point out families and I could trace it all the way back, generation after generation after generation. I'm like, you know why it continues? Because you've had no one in the family
Come
to
on.
break that cycle because
Come
nobody
on.
knows how. And I've run across that so much in the court system and in all my 20 years of experience. And it's
Wow.
sad. It is really sad.
Yeah. Yeah. What advice do you have for the parents out there who may be going through this system cycle that we see our children going through on a daily basis? What's your advice? How do we keep them? Well, here's the thing. The advantage is that they find you while in the system. And sometimes you got to go through to get through.
Right.
So I can say I'm honored to know that you're on the other side of them going through. Once they're in the system, what advice do you have for the parents that will help their youth, male or female, to become more of have more of an advantage after they've gotten into the system?
I think first and foremost, you gotta be supportive.
Mm.
And the kid didn't get here by itself. And I
Yes.
tell the parents all the time, it's not directly your fault because you can do everything in your power. And I tell my clients all the time, it's only by the grace of God that I wasn't on the
Yeah.
other side of that desk. Because Lord
Yeah.
knows I did some stuff in my teenage years that was just dumb that just should have put me in the juvenile justice system. But it's
Yeah.
only by the grace of God that I didn't get caught. And so, but back to what I was saying, you got to, I mean, because it breaks you down as a parent,
Yes.
because you feel like a failure. So my biggest thing is you got to support that kid. You got Once
Yeah.
they get in the system, you got to love that kid because this is where this is in the juvenile justice system. They're gonna be nice to you because
Yeah.
on the other side, it's a whole different animal. And we tell them this all the time, like you become a number, you
Yeah.
become a statistic. And they're not gonna offer all these
Wow.
programs. They're gonna tell you they're gonna offer all these programs, but
And
they
then they
really don't.
don't.
They're just doing that for face value because
Yeah.
once you get in the system, it's hard to get out the system, especially for our
Wow.
Black and brown kids. And we already know how that system works for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It don't look the same. We just gonna be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
call an ace and a spade a spade.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that as you said it, because it's so much harder to get out if we understood the injustice in the justice system and how it's developed, how it's structured. And I think we miss that, just educating ourselves daily. And I thank God for people like you and people that you know who are really setting a tone to be who you are in the community. It's effective. And it may seem a little like, I'm only touching a small group of people. There's a whole world of people out there who need a Mr. Tate. So shout out to all the people who are the Mr. Tates in different states.
Yes,
and different areas of the globe, because it is making a difference. Now, tell us about kind of the stressors. Of course, being a juvenile probation officer, like you said, we're talking about the kids and we're talking about pulling on their heartstrings, but it has to be mentally challenging for you as well, especially being a man who was in the inner city. You see it, you know it, you've overcome it. And I know you got to think like, why can't they just get it? Why can't they get it? But talk to us about the mental state that you're in after having to go through so much of this.
Now, when I first started, I was gung-ho, and I was in a more intensive program that allowed, we were kind of like out of the office. We were like kind of like parole probation, juvenile probation officer. So I was doing late night curfew checks. I was knocking on doors at 12:30 and 1 o'clock. But once I got kind of like the regular probation job, as I got went to start working at Knox County Juvenile Court, it kind of settled down. But for me personally, it takes a toll on an individual, especially if you one that cares about you. Now, if it's just a job to you, then you don't really care. But I found a lot of times I was taking my work home. And I know now, with having a fiance and just having somebody that I can like talk about my cases, which I try not to do, and just working out, just staying busy, doing kind of like your own thing to get your mind off of that stuff. Because you can find yourself in I'll tell you this, burnout is the worst thing.
Yes.
Burnout is the worst thing I've had to deal with. And, being able to do something different, like Game Changers, like I was mentioning before, actually saved my career because it rejuvenated my passion to work with young people, because I wasn't doing it in a probation rule. I was actually being able to be a mentor and then talk to them in a different light.
I love it. I love it. So for the probation officers out there who are going hard, look, you the new probation officers out there who like, I'm about to change the world. I'm about to change it.
That was me.
One house at a time. Listen, there's a such thing as burnout. And once you start dealing with the youth's mental incapabilities, I believe too, like when we touch people or when we connect with people, their spirits, they can really like, it can tear ours down as well. I'm trying to be nice about saying it, but it's a lot.
I've had some demons in my office. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Come on.
I didn't see the horns in the tail, but you can't tell me they weren't demons. I'm just gonna leave it at that, Shay. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Listen, look, we just gonna keep it real. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to Mr. Kendrick Tate, juvenile probation officer out of Knox County. And we're just keeping it real here because honestly, our goal is for you to get exactly what you need on this broadcast. If you don't keep it real, you can't free somebody. You can't really get the person to the next step. The reason I thought about the probation officers is because, like you said, there are people out there who actually don't care. They're there. It's a job. They get their pay. They go home. Some people, they go through their own cycles of life. They're there for their own reasons. Maybe they didn't get what they needed to get. But there are people, the Bible reminds us that many are called, but few are chosen. And that just means that there's a lot of people called to do what you do, but there are select few who are chosen to do it how you do it. So again, I want to say thank you for that because the children actually need more people like you. So let's talk about the parents because, I like to get into the parents. I do. We talked about the youth and they probably like, why they always talking about us? Because y'all need to get it together. But what about the parents? There are so many parents out there who are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Not every parent you touch, I'm sure, is a parent who is like out in the streets. They the ones gang, and they the ones. These are hardworking parents. And because they have to go to work day in and day out, they leave the kids home because they got to do what they got to do to pay the bills. And the kids get connected with the wrong kids who then get connected with the wrong kids. And before you know it, they just don't know how their kid got there. How are you comforting? Can you comfort one of those parents today on this broadcast? That parent that's saying, I don't know how it started. I wanted to do the right thing. Little Bobby didn't grow up in a family like this.
Mhm. Right? I heard that a million times.
How do you help to comfort those parents?
Like I said, just being honest and teaching them that criminality knows no gender, knows no race.
Yes.
It don't care about social class, and it's always present. It's just like the devil, always present and waiting for you to make that wrong move. The thing is, Shay, that once you make that wrong move, knowing that that's a learning opportunity. And whatever on this petition or in this court documentation, it does not define you. It's just a snippet of your life at that point in time. But you have the opportunity to make that go away. Just like God, forgives us for our sins. You have the ability to make that charge be expunged if you handle your business and follow the court orders and do what you're supposed to do and correct that wrong and make it a right.
I love, there's two things that you said that I really picked up on, and I want to address it for the person viewing this today. The first thing is, as a parent, you got to realize that sometimes, just like your children have to go through to find a Mr. Tate. You probably been praying. You probably were trying to figure out how you get it out. How do I get this person out? How I get my son, how I get my daughter out of this? Well, sometimes they have to go through to find a Mr. Tate. And when they get to Mr. Tate, it's not going to be you that changes, but it's going to be him that transforms the way that they think. So if you look at it from that perspective, don't always say everything is going wrong. What's going right with the situation? So I need you to look at it from that perspective. Yes, the other part is whatever is on that documentation, whatever you see, I believe that my God can turn it around. I've never been in this situation, but I know a number of people who went in thinking they were about to do only 1 year to 5 years, and they came out with just probation, or they came out unscathed. My question to you is, what do you do after that? So even if your child is not in the system, I encourage you to look people up like Mr. Tate. Get them before they get into the system. Know the signs. Look it up. YouTube, Google. How do you know for a fact that my kid is about to go in the wrong direction? Know the signs. There's too much out there in this technology, this world of technology, for us not to know. Listen, if you want to know more information about how to keep your kids out of the system, or maybe the kid is in the system, I want you guys to look up Mr. Kendrick Tate. I want you guys to look up people like Mr. Kendrick Tate. Call the probation officers and find out in advance what you can do. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this, honestly. It's true. They may make it seem like you can't. Well, we can't do anything. Your child's not in the system. If you are as persistent as you is about that stimulus check, if you are persistent as you are when it comes down to getting them Jordans for them, those Apple phones, nobody gets Androids, those iPads, those hats, those clothes. If you are just that persistent, be even more persistent to get them into an environment that can save and change their lives forever. Mr. Tate, we have 2 minutes left. Can you please just give a word of encouragement to someone today who is saying, listen, I need this information today? What word of encouragement do you have?
I don't know who needs to hear this, but trust God. Trust God. You're not going to understand everything that's going on with your kid. You're not going to be able to stop your kid from doing certain things. But if you give your kid to God, I guarantee you that return will not be, it won't come back null or void. I guarantee you that. So that would be my advice. And if you're not a believer, I'm going to need you to start believing. Because
come on.
At the end of the day, that's the only sole creator that can save your child at the end of the day. So other than that, love them.
Love it.
Love them no matter what. Good, bad, ugly, tired, happy, sad. Just love them. Because if you don't, I know who will.
Yeah. And you know what? It's not your fault. I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's not your fault. So listen, I want to thank you, Mr. Kendrick Tate, for joining us today. This was amazing. I've learned so much, and I know the viewers have as well. This is another fantastic episode of The Red Room with your host, Shay Samuels, and we will see you on the next episode. Mwah!
Thank you.
This is Paula G. Voice, aka Lady Wisdom, with Beyond the Moment. It's sometimes difficult to see beyond the moment when you're in the midst of a crisis. But sometimes the vision of being beyond the moment is the very thing that may be needed to get you through the moment. Our society is laced with so many overwhelming events. It seems like they come one right after the other, and they don't allow you the space to breathe or recover. We get so burdened, discouraged, and depressed that we often find it difficult to move on. There's a Bible verse that mentions weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Well, life can be like that as well. And the moment may be that of heavy times, but we must look beyond the moment with hope and faith. Look beyond the moment and keep hope alive. I'm Lady Wisdom, a sagacious lifestyle influencer, embracing my journey, sharing experiences along the way and challenging dreamers to do the same by breathing life into their deferred dreams and living out the reality. It's never too late to embrace your journey and live your dreams. Visit Paula's blog, paulagvoice.com/blog for the full journey. This is Paula G. Voice, aka Lady Wisdom, with endurance. The unimaginable happens, and you have no idea how you'll make it through. Sometimes you feel as though you don't even want to bother. Yet we all have those moments at one point in time or another. There is life on the other side of that storm. Those moments when you must dig deep within and find the strength to endure. Rise from the ashes. There are those moments when you can't see beyond the moment. There are those moments when you don't want to hear. There's life on the other side of this, because this is so traumatizing, you can't see it. How we choose to manage our circumstances is totally a ball that is in our court. We fall down, but we get up. We plunge to the deepest, darkest part of our being, but something inside of us longs to survive. We find ourselves fighting to rise out of the darkness. It's a slow journey, but we eventually see the light at the end of the tunnel. I always say that every day we wake up is an opportunity to set an example. It's an opportunity to change things. It's an opportunity to do better, to grow, and to heal. Someone made the analogy about eating an elephant one bite at a time. Now, literally, we're not in the habit of eating elephants. But when faced with inconvenient situations, impossible situations, we must take one step at a time, one day at a time. We all have endured some situations in our lives that has almost taken us to the point of no return. If we take our eyes off the moment and focus on where it is we desire to be, our goal, our destiny, we can take necessary steps to see our way through difficult times. Now, sometimes it may take therapy, prayer, meditation, and daily affirmations that help you make it through. Our lives are so full of difficult moments, but we must focus on the good times, the great events, the joys. As with any storm, tornado, hurricane that leaves destruction in its path, Greetings to those of you who are listening and viewing from around the world. Welcome to My Journey with Paula G, where we are juggling this journey called life while each of us are walking in the gifts and talents that God has given us. If this is your first time on the journey, thank you all so much for joining us. We are so grateful that you have tuned in or you are viewing. If you are returning, welcome back. It's good to have you back, and we appreciate your continued support. I tell you all each and every week that time is precious. It is the one thing that you cannot get back. So for you to think it not robbery to spend this time with us, we truly, truly appreciate it. We'd also like to thank and show our appreciation for our underwriters on this journey. Without them, we would not be able to bring you such quality programming. So we thank each and every one of our underwriters. And you know, underwriting is a great way to gain exposure for your business, product, or service while embracing the journey. So if you are interested in becoming an underwriter for My Journey with Paula G, you may email us at jerryroycelive@gmail.com or paula@paulagvoice.com. Please place in the subject line underwriting opportunities, and we will be sure to follow up with each and every one of you. Also, I invite you to stay connected with me via my website, paulagvoice.com, as well as social media across the board, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Paula G Voice, where you can stay connected on the journey as well. Well, before we talk with our guest today, I want to share with you a bit of Paula's perspective. And I have an excerpt here from my book, which is entitled My Journey to Lady Wisdom, My Journey to Lady Wisdom After Midnight, which can be found on my website. Here we go. If you want to change the person that you are today, you must take a trip back through your past. Unlock the doors of hurt, the doors of anger, the doors of bitterness, the doors of unforgiveness. You must unlock all those doors that are harboring debilitating baggage in order to continue to move forward in freedom. I remember working with an administrator at one point, and she would tell us at the beginning of the year that each child comes through the door on the first day of school with an invisible suitcase. And it is our job to unpack that suitcase and to help the child through the 4 years. I was on the high school level, so through the 4 years of high school, navigate what is in that suitcase, unpack some of those things that need to be unpacked, help them to rewrite a new narrative if necessary so that they can move forward in their academic career as well as their personal lives. Each and every one of us comes to the table with an invisible suitcase that is full of the experiences from our past that manifest into our present, whether it's our mindset, our behavior, or what have you. So sometimes we do have to take a journey back to peel back some of those layers of those things that have not healed properly, to rewrite the narrative, to take the opportunity to heal properly so that we can move forward and be free from any of the hurt, the bitterness, the anger, or sometimes the depression. So I would encourage each and every one of you as you say your prayers, that you lift your petitions to the Lord and just ask for help on that journey for healing, because definitely in this day and age, with so much that is overwhelming each and every one of us, you know, we all could use that prayer for a healthier future. So I hope that helped you, and that is Paula's perspective. Well, it is time for our guest today. And our guest today is an author. She's a teacher. She is involved in spiritual wellness, and she's here to drop some nuggets on us today. She is Katerina Orr. Blessings to you, my sister. Thank you so much for joining us here on the journey.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So you've been a busy, busy woman. So first of all, before we get started, tell us a bit about, you know, the theme of our show is juggling this journey called life while walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given us. So share with us a bit of how the last couple of years, because at the time of this particular show, we are still engrossed, shall we say, in a pandemic. So share with us a bit of how you have navigated the last couple of years or so?
Well, pandemic time, I think it was difficult, and still is in some cases for everyone. But, I was blessed, first of all, with my career, that it was a easy move from office to home. I don't think it was so easy for students because, of course, we had to move to online learning. Um, but I just really took that time to work on me. It was a time where I had an opportunity to write my book or continue to write. I could reflect on my relationships with my husband and my children and my church family. So the pandemic overall it wasn't a good thing at all. But I was blessed to be able to use that time for the betterment of me, self-care, relationships, even professional relationships. I was able to navigate those things as a result of the time that was given. Before, I was the interim department head of the African American Studies program at Valdosta State, and I didn't have time to do anything at all. I was kind of put in that position. It was definitely a blessing, but it was a position that I had never experienced before. It's extremely fast paced and I was hanging with it. But I think being able to come home like I was, first of all, I was able to appreciate how important it is to take time for yourself. And secondly, I was able to do those things that I was able to do.
So it sounds like you really utilize that time to regroup, refresh, restore, perhaps rest.
Yes.
And I think for so many, like you said, the pandemic itself was not necessarily a good thing,
Right.
but how some of us were able to utilize it, there was some good that has come out of it. So in your role as an educator at Valdosta State University, which is located in Georgia, in the
Yes.
southern part of Georgia. My daughter
Very
actually
southern.
spent 2 years, freshman and sophomore year, at Valdosta State back in the mid 2000s or so before she transferred to Howard University. It's a beautiful campus,
Yeah.
beautiful part of Valdosta. Share with us a bit more about what it is that you do at Valdosta State and why you're so passionate about it.
I've been there 16 years, and I actually started out in the English department. And after 4 years, I moved over to the African American Studies program, and I was there for 11 years. And that was the absolute best experience because I was able to influence African American students. Now, of course, it was diverse, and they weren't all African American students, but of course, the majority. And what I learned is those students who took those classes were already very aware of their identity. They were already aware of where they were, or their place rather, in society. So I was taking, I wouldn't say, this ball of clay. It was clay that was already developed and they just needed to be taken infinite. I was able to craft a class based on Beyonce's Lemonade visual album. That was great. It got national attention, and we were able to form what we called the sisterhood. No name, no anything. And the only stipulation was you had to go through the class. And once you went through the class, you were automatically able to join this sisterhood, which grew into this forum we did that was always very well attended, Black Women's Forum. So, Black images in film, a lot of different courses that I was given the liberty to craft, and they were always very well attended. Definitely passionate about being able to impart that knowledge to these, what I like to call half-grown half grown. I'm twice grown. They're half grown people. And they were just like sponges, like receptacles. They were just taking it all in. And even today, I still have major relationships with many of the students. After I was interim head for a year, I went back to the English department, and teaching English is my love as well. Of course, as freshmen, it's a little different type of relationship. I almost have to be in the mama role. The mama role with the ruler. Because this pandemic really did something. Yeah, I mean, it did something to the freshmen coming in. They went through something. And so we're still having the remnants of that and having to work that out so that they can be back to where they need to be.
Right. So as teaching English, and I grew up in a family of educators. My aunties were, if they weren't in nursing, they were teachers. And I can remember as a child coming in, and I'm all excited about telling them about, if I went to the fair, the circus, and I'm all excited. And every phrase, they are correcting my English, so much so that when I try to get to the end of my story, I forgot what I said. And they're like, well, okay, child, what are you trying to tell us? And I would have forgotten what it was I was trying to say because they are correcting my English. So in this season that we're in, you may have to help me with this. I am struggling with, I think capitalization is becoming extinct, and punctuation. Need I go on? So it just disturbs my spirit.
From the onset of texting language has infiltrated our standard English, if you will, and it's major because it has crept into these academic papers. I have a professional editing service as well, and it's the professionals, believe it or not, they do it as well. I don't think that they believe that standard English is as important as it used to be, but it's still used. You need a standard. You have to have the standard that everyone can identify with so that you can communicate with everyone that you want to identify with. So it's difficult. It's difficult and it's amazing. It's in my syllabus. Please don't use texting language in your writing, and it still creeps up, and they pay. They pay.
Yeah,
My student, I'm sorry. They pay for it.
Yes, and that, and I remember back, being an educator, I remember it's been, I would dare say, almost a decade now when cursive writing came out of the school, and I was having a challenge with the Postal Service. And one of the things I mentioned, I said, I can imagine you have this generation of new postal workers that are coming up that don't know cursive. And the supervisor on the other end, she said, yeah, that's becoming a challenge. So you got mail they're handling and can't read cursive because it was taken out of the schools about 10 years ago.
Wow.
So it's, I don't want to get off on these pet peeves, but to your point, the power of proper use of language speaks to where we are when it comes to communication nowadays.
Right.
That kind of trickles into other areas.
It does.
So experience in teaching English, which I would say would be a natural transition to becoming an author. Share with us a bit about some of what you have written.
I write everything. It's funny because I've written screenplays, and I often put my screenplays into different writing competitions, and even one in New York, the international competition, I was able to place in the quarterfinals. So I write screenplays, I write stage plays. I've written and directed stage plays that have been performed in 4 different states. And then I edited and published authors' works. And it's something because people would often call me an author, and I would get annoyed. I'm not an author. I'm an editor. I'm an editor. I'm a publisher. I'm not an author. Did not think I wanted to write books at all. When you can write screenplays and stage plays, you just write action. It's just action, action, action. You don't have to describe the place. You don't have to, create this extensive dialogue, because it's what you see. It's the movements that the watchers or more audience, it's what they watch and want to see. But sometimes people can speak over your life and you don't even realize that's what's going on, because I had a harrowing experience, something I had never, ever experienced before. And the way that I was able to work through it was to write. And I said, God, you really know, you're going to do what God wants you to do, one way or the other. He's going to get you where he wants you to be. And I remember when I was going through that experience, I would say, Lord, just tell me what the lesson is. I promise you I will learn that lesson so we can move past this. Well, it was to get me to write. And that's exactly what happened. And that was my journey to writing this book.
Excellent. So tell us the title of the book.
The Assistant.
The Assistant. And can you just give us a little snippet of what it is about?
It's about this young, twice grown African-American woman, and she's juggling being a preacher's wife and working in higher education. And now she has this new challenge of being in administration that she's never done before, and the challenges that she has to face once she gets into that position. One of the main challenges being her assistant. But then there are others. Once she gets in this position, it starts bumping up against her faithfulness and being faithful to her church. And then to add just another whammy, there have been some department heads, African-American women department heads, who have come up missing. One they found dead in the river. And now Felice is being harassed by the same group that they believe killed these other women.
Oh my God.
Some are still missing. So that's the crux.
That's a little bit of twist. And then also, in addition, spiritual wellness. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. I'm kind of unorthodox, I think, when it comes to being a preacher's wife or a first lady. I just want to be called a preacher's wife, because I just don't, first lady is fine, but it's not for me, because I'm not first in anything. I'm struggling to be the best Christian that I can be, like everyone else. And sometimes we don't want to talk about certain issues as Christians. And the issues that we don't want to talk about are the very issues that are keeping us sick, whether it's mentally or physically. We don't want to talk about those issues. So I'm using this platform to dare talk about these issues that we don't want to talk about. Like one, Zora Neale Hurston said that Black women are the mules of the world, meaning that we carry all the burden. You don't really hear that when you are in a church setting, that women, Black women specifically, are the mules of the world, that we carry these burdens. We don't talk about that. So that's something I want to reach out and say, hey, we carry everybody's burden, but Jesus Christ says that even our burdens need to be laid at his feet. So we need to delve into some self-care, right?
Self-care. So how can the audience stay connected with you on your journey and learn more?
I do have a website, cmechelenorr.com. Same as my social media platforms, cmechelenorr. I do blog once a week through my spiritual wellness page, and you'll see those mainly on Facebook, and then of course on my website. And those are the absolute best ways to contact me.
Excellent, because you have so many wonderful streams of
Yes.
knowledge going on that can really inspire, can encourage, can empower, as we could all continue this journey called life. So thank you so much for joining us on the journey. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this episode. We thank each and every one of you for tuning in or listening. Our underwriters, we thank you for your continued support of my journey with Paula G. Make sure you connect with us, my website, paulagvoice.com, across social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Paula G Voice. And I leave you with this, as I always do, that the greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you speaking to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? And are you listening to his still small voice? Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, embrace the journey.
This is Paula G Voice, Lady Wisdom with Own Your Own Power. At some point in time, we all may have been guilty of giving up our power. We've allowed the opinions of others to validate how we feel about ourselves. And in hindsight, it was not a good thing. We're so influenced by the perceived norms of society that we often cave to that trend. Sometimes the trend goes against what resides within us. We see things differently. We interpret things differently. We understand things differently. It reminds me of Noah in the Bible. Talk about owning your own power. Can you imagine how he must have felt day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year? He was a lone star. Now, it would have been understandable if he succumbed to the trend, the ridicule, if he had succumbed to everything around him telling him that what he was doing was crazy. Yet he had enough faith in his power and the higher power, and enough resolve within himself to press forward, stay focused, and maintain his power. Sometimes we have to stand alone in what it is that we believe in. Sometimes we have to go against the trend. Sometimes we see beyond the moment and discern a different outcome than what the majority may see. We have to stand in our own truth. Whatever or whomever you may deem to be a higher power will sometimes drop a nugget in your spirit, and that nugget may be a foreign concept to the majority. I think when certain common electronic devices were first introduced, they were a foreign concept. Some could not even have imagined utilizing such a thing, but look how we depend on those foreign concepts today. We each have the power to manifest those things that we desire in our lives. We all have dreams and hopes, things we have always wanted to do or accomplish. I'm a witness that it can be done. At times, it may seem unimaginable, but if you can visualize it, you can actualize it. I've had the vision of certain dreams that I desired to fulfill, and I took a day and simulated what it would be like to live in the manifestation of that dream. I jotted down what I thought would need to happen or occur to really make this dream come to life. It was a powerful exercise because it helped me to see that the manifestation was more realistic than I initially thought. If we've learned nothing else in the season of 2020, we've learned that life and time are precious. I say this often because it bears repeating. Life and time are precious. So we need to live now. Live for today. Do you have a dream? Something you desire to achieve? Visualize it. Walk it out. Write the plan. Begin the journey. Own your own power and manifest your dreams. I'm Paula G Voice. I'm a sagacious, independent lifestyle influencer. I'm embracing my own journey and sharing experiences along the way. And I'm challenging dreamers to do the same by breathing life into their deferred dreams and living out the reality. It's never too late to embrace your journey and live your dreams. Visit Paula's blog at paulagvoice.com for the full journey.
This is Paula G. Voice, aka Lady Wisdom, with Beyond the Moment. It's sometimes difficult to see beyond the moment when you're in the midst of a crisis. But sometimes the vision of being beyond the moment is the very thing that may be needed to get you through the moment. Our society is laced with so many overwhelming events. It seems like they come one right after the other, and they don't allow you the space to breathe or recover. We get so burdened, discouraged, and depressed that we often find it difficult to move on. There's a Bible verse that mentions weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Well, life can be like that as well. And the moment may be that of heavy times, but we must look beyond the moment with hope and faith. Look beyond the moment and keep hope alive. I'm Lady Wisdom, a sagacious lifestyle influencer, embracing my journey, sharing experiences along the way and challenging dreamers to do the same by breathing life into their deferred dreams and living out the reality. It's never too late to embrace your journey and live your dreams. Visit Paula's blog, paulagvoice.com/blog for the full journey. This is Paula G. Voice, aka Lady Wisdom, with endurance. The unimaginable happens, and you have no idea how you'll make it through. Sometimes you feel as though you don't even want to bother. Yet we all have those moments at one point in time or another. There is life on the other side of that storm. Those moments when you must dig deep within and find the strength to endure. Rise from the ashes. There are those moments when you can't see beyond the moment. There are those moments when you don't want to hear. There's life on the other side of this, because your this is so traumatizing, you can't see it. How we choose to manage our circumstances is totally a ball that is in our court. We fall down, but we get up. We plunge to the deepest, darkest part of our being, but something inside of us longs to survive. We find ourselves fighting to rise out of the darkness. It's a slow journey, but we eventually see the light at the end of the tunnel. I always say that every day we wake up is an opportunity to set an example. It's an opportunity to change things. It's an opportunity to do better, to grow, and to heal. Someone made the analogy about eating an elephant one bite at a time. Now, literally, we're not in the habit of eating elephants. But when faced with inconvenient situations, impossible situations, we must take one step at a time, one day at a time. We all have endured some situations in our lives that has almost taken us to the point of no return. If we take our eyes off the moment and focus on where it is we desire to be.
Here come the boss lady, the Kelly Holland Show. Watch out, let's go. Here come the boss lady, the Kelly Holland Show. Let's drop it. Here come the boss lady, the Kelly Holland Show. Come on, she gonna get it right. Research all about your life. Her info's always tight, talking just to get inside. Gospel talking, Bible walking, wanna help you see. Faith is calling and she's walking with the victory. The king is on her side and she never quits. Put you on the show and you reminisce. Creative to the point where she's making hits. Business savvy is a Kelly. Are you getting this? The Kelly Holland Show. I'm liking this. Kelly Holland Show. Come on, y'all.
Hello, and welcome to the Kelly Holland Show. I'm so happy that you tuned in. Today we have such a treat. One of my buddies is here, and we don't know how to act right, but we're going to give you a quality show. Listeners and viewers, please help me welcome Dr. Eric Holmes. Hey, sir.
How are you, Kelly? It's always a pleasure, always an honor, to share with you. I'm super excited, humble, and I'm so excited for your new journey and what you're doing. So, and you look amazing.
Thank you.
So I'm just looking forward for this time of sharing. Thank you for the honor, the privilege, and it's always such a joy to be in your company.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the warm welcome. Please let our viewers know, who are you? Dr. Eric Holmes, who are you? What it is that you do?
This takes me back to the taping we did for Who I Am, the docuseries, where I sat to my big brother Batman, and we went through, this interview process. I am originally from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, born and raised, come from a family of 8. Went to school, went to college, worked there, and then
pause. A family of who?
8.
Okay, so it was 10 people in that house.
Well, I was next to the youngest. I was number 7, and so, but a time that some of them had moved out. But growing up, it was. I had 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
Wow, big family. Okay, I'm sorry to cut in. I was just amazed. Like, how many?
Yeah. And so, came from, a family of 8, close family, born and raised in PA, moved to Maryland almost 30 years ago and began a career at Johns Hopkins, joined the phenomenal church here, Bethel Temple Church, and just began a journey, as an author, as an entrepreneur, but the in-between things that we experiencing, moving to a whole nother state, moving to look for a new career. And so always been one of those go-getters, working hard, going to school, trying to be the best that I can be. And so people see us now, but there was a process, there was preparation, there was process of who we are, yet of who we are becoming. And so, I just tell most people, I'm just an humble servant who said yes, had to go through process, preparation, to where I am, yet to where I'm going.
Amen to that, and such humble beginnings. And I'm so glad that you put God first, as well as your trust in him. And then you've reached so many mountaintops. Like, congratulations to you, brother. Please let us know, how is it being a Black person that is professional, successful, and seeing the racial distress going on throughout our communities and others. What type of initiatives has that motivated you to maybe come up with, or any ideas or groups that you may have already started in?
One of the things is we are royalty. You got to know who you are, got to know whose you are. One, always keeping God first, but knowing that the family structure and culture that we come from has always been strong, been strength to us, no matter what we had to deal with.
Agreed.
They taught us to survive. They taught us to endure. And so the thing about it is, now when we see so many different things, even at my workplace, I'm on a diversity committee.
Mm-hmm.
And when before COVID, I was in the community, a lot of community events, at the library, doing a lot of teachings and workshops and book signings and all of that. So giving back in the community and helping even the younger generation, giving them wisdom, sharing the knowledge of what we experience so they don't have to, but learn from it. And exactly. So, allowing them to know we are powerful, we are authentic, You know, we are strong, you know, and making sure they remember who they are, so we can continue to be effective and make an impact in our community, in our culture, you know.
I agree. And it's very difficult for these young brown boys and girls to learn their identity, because so much of their history has been whitewashed. And we've been lied to, and we've been told that this is the way when this was never the way. But the research is there for us to go back and to find or to identify our roots, right? But at the same time, are the resources there to help us to identify our roots? And so that loss of identity comes in, and then they latch on to whatever's on the media, right? That he who controls the media controls the masses. And so media is where it's become, I would say, the brainwashing tunnel, where so many people kind of walk into because they think it's a norm. How do you combat that within your community? How do you help people know who they are?
Well, you really have to, one, give structure, knowledge, clarity. You have to allow them to see things from a different perspective, but you got to give them the culture. You got to give them history. You got to be able to sit down and be transparent and help them and have a good listening ear, you know, so you can hear them, hear their heart, see where they are, yet so you'll know how to direct them of where to go. But give them facts, give them truth, you know, give them experiences that you had to experience. And so give them all of this so they'll know, you know, it's more to it than doing X, Y, Z. It's more to it than on the corner. It's more to it. Yes, we've done this. And a lot of times, because there is no transparency, because there is no giving the truth and facts, or even as, you know, that saying, we said what stays in, you know, what's in the home stays in the home and all that. No, you got to be transparent. You got to give people, because what you do is hinder. What you do is cause things for people not to really see what things really are. And so when you condition their minds and their thinking one way, now they don't know the good way. They don't know another way. And so we cannot use those, that don't work no more. We got to be transparent. We got to give them truth.
You are absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. And so that's why we do projects under my life coaching. We do projects for men and women, definitely the at-risk youth and adults. And we try to teach financial literacy, workforce development, and also some life coaching. You know, that's the time that people are able to pour in and let us know how they even got to this point and what we can do to change it, what norms are very much not norms at all, but they're just, like you said, that these adopted behaviors. Dr. Holmes, you mentioned that your workplace, the infamous Johns Hopkins Hospital, has started a diversity committee. So many Fortune 500 companies and beyond have began to introduce diversity teams within the last 5 years or so. Do you think this is the corporate way of acknowledging or, you know, is it a joke?
Well, it isn't, because we actually have an entire department. We have a phenomenal VP, Dr. Golden, who heads up the diversity department. So, and even within different areas, we have diversity, you know, committees, teams, but you have to recognize it, one, because it's real. It's here and it's not going, whatever the diversity is, whether we're dealing with social injustice, whether we're dealing, you know, last month they celebrated Pride and so many different diversities, that you have to bring this to the forefront. You have to talk about it. You just can't sweep stuff under the rug, because it's being brought to the forefront. It's being brought in the news. It's being brought, you know, on social media, in articles. And so now what we do, we've got to play our part. We got to do our part so we can help those.
Exactly. Audience, I love speaking to other community leaders, servant leaders, because you always get to understand their passion and why they do what they do for the community. You also get to learn who they are. And usually it's based off of our personal journeys as well as we introduce so much passion into helping others. So Dr. Holmes, let me ask you, being the next to the youngest child in your family, such a large family, what type of off-track beginnings did you have, and how were you able to veer into Dr. Holmes?
One of the things is, one, being next to the youngest, I was spoiled. So a lot that my brothers and them and my sisters and them didn't get away with, I did. And so being spoiled, and then but it also seems that you have a sense of entitlement because I was giving a lot, but however, still taught the principles of working hard, going to school. And even though with some of the things, like I used to, most people, they laugh about it when I tell them, but my class, the people that I graduated with, which now we just celebrated 35 years for the Harrisburg High class of 86, I threw the baddest like skip day parties. I threw like the baddest parties, like period, in PA. And like when I go back, we talk about it, but we respected one another, even where I am right now in my journey. And when they see me, it's because I still respect them, no matter where people are in life. We all got different paths, but we can talk about and laugh about, when we used to love to gamble, in school and play cards, or, when I threw the senior skip days and, all of that, and having, these amazing parties. Like I threw the bit from the house parties, the basement parties. And so when we talk about it now and we laugh about it, but one thing I will say is that if they needed somebody now to see where I am in my journey and where I am in life, if they needed prayer, if they needed to call on me, they know there's no judgment zone.
Okay.
My one buddy who will fight for me, like he's a sergeant, he was in the military, but he's a sergeant. Here's the thing. He'll say, yo, Dr. E, I need your prayer. I need your advice. You already know I got my E and J. But here's the thing. But for somebody to call you, respect you enough to know, to already let you know, but will call you when they're in trouble, or call you when they need advice, or call you, even though we grew up together. They knew I threw the party. They knew, but where I am now, but I respect them. And so we don't judge one another, because everybody's process is different. And everybody's journey is different.
Absolutely. Everybody's journey is different. And I like to back that up with a math equation. So how many ways we get to 10? We can do 1 + 9, 8 + 2, 5 × 2, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + what do we get to 10? It's so many different routes, and that's why I say it that way. But the goal is to make it to 10. Whether you had an open door and somebody made it available to you, well, you got there a little faster. Or whether you had to climb and stumble and fall and get back up like I did, then you took a longer path. But nevertheless, we all made it to 10. And so it's important that everybody think about their goals in that way. It's like my timeline is not your timeline, nor does it have to be. What the focus is getting to the goal. Getting to the goal. Dr. Holmes, you started off writing books. What was your very first book called, and what have you learned from then to now?
My very first book, The Power of the Seed, which is phenomenal and amazing, which is truly my heart and passion. What from there to now, it was the process and the journey. It was to help me understand, the whole thing of seeding, sowing, planting, and even in our lives, when something's planted, when something's watered, when something's nurtured, and in this whole process of getting to the goal, which is the harvest, getting to the goal, which is the finish line, and understanding that there's roots that expand and grow, and the whole analogy and revelation from the natural aspect to the spiritual aspect, from the farmer to the believer, but the in-between process is the valuable part, and how you have to deal with that in order to get to the end process.
Mm-hmm. Amen. So now we're down to your newest book. Is it out already, or are you both out? Okay. So I can speak about it in time. Okay, so there we go, y'all. Go ahead and hold it up for our viewers. It is titled My Next Season is Due Season by Dr. Eric Holmes. such a talented man, I may say. But what was your inspiration behind this book, and why was it important for you to share?
It's amazing because when I did The Power of the Seed, not knowing that God gave me my next season is due season, but it wasn't until 5 years later that he gave me that it was processed and the revelation of it, but he tied it in when he gave me that. But it helps you even a spin off from that as it shifts into the process, the preparation of getting from one season to the next, and that we cannot skip seasons, that we must endure the season that we're in order to get to the next season. But there again, there's something in the middle of the process I must do, and how we handle the middle process is going to determine the outcome. So there's process and preparation and order. But here's the thing, you must endure one season to get to the next, even though it seems like we're in summer, but yet we just came through spring. I can't jump the fall without going through summer.
I love it. Come on with it, Doctor. Dr. Pastor Reverend. I love it. I love it. I love it. We're nearing the end of the show. I knew this was going to happen. I knew we would get into it. It just feel like regular and old friends. And then boom, we ran out of time. We definitely are going to need a part 2 just to make this work. I'm requesting it right now from my producers because there's so much more that Dr. Holmes can share, and there's so much more that he can give out, and there's so much more that you can buy from him as well. Dr. Holmes, please let our viewers know where they can find your newest project and any other projects that you have out, and any dates that they should be aware of. This is your time to plug away.
Well, thank you once again, Kelly. I'm so amazed, so honored. Thank you, Batman and Positive Power, where you feel the power. This amazing show and your new journey. On Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, you can find those, or message me, social media, and reach out to me. Or in the libraries, you can find them in the libraries. And so I'm super excited about that because I just got notification. Not only that, it's on the shelf too.
Amen.
Jakes and Tony Evans. And so here's the thing, is that I have Soulful Prayer Volume 1, Volume 2, Soulful Affirmations, which we just released, that I'm a co-author, and in a few weeks will be the release of another book I co-authored, Leaders Embracing New Direction, which is a diversity of leaders and authors across the country. So when we talk about diversity, this entire project is full of diversity.
Amen. Amen to that. Please share your social media platforms. You went through it really quick, but I don't think you let the listeners know which social media tag to address to get to you.
Facebook, Eric Holmes. Twitter, Dr. E. Instagram, Dr._E_Holmes_, or LinkedIn, Eric Holmes. You can reach me on all of those, or if you just happen to go on Amazon, pull up my books, my whole bio, my email, and all that information is in there. Or if you happen to go in the library, you can pull one of my books from the library and reach me.
We need to get you a website. Just one home place with all your links. We need to get you a website because you have too much to share. And I know you're keeping it all up in your head. And so let's let this technology work for us. We need to get okay, viewers, we need to sponsor Dr. Eric Holmes a website. So from my mouth to God's ears, make it so that he can do this and it be sponsored and protected. Amen. But thank you again for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have had you here, Dr. Holmes. I'm so sorry we have to end right now, but I hope you can come back again.
I will be honored, humbled, whatever date you want me come back. For you, Kelly, I will, and I appreciate you. I'm super excited what you're doing, your new journey, your new chapter. It's going to be successful, and I'm telling you, they're going to be trying to get on your show.
I know that's right. Yes, Jesus. Let's make this work. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. It has been a pleasure to be with Dr. Eric Holmes today. Hopefully, we will be able to record some new stuff for you in the near future. Thank you, Batman, our producer. You've heard his name a lot. He is the glue behind all of this. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in. And never forget to tap back into your unspeakable joy. Have a great day, everybody.
This is Paula G. Voice, Lady Wisdom with Own Your Own Power. At some point in time, we all may have been guilty of giving up our power.
We've allowed the opinions of others to validate how we feel about ourselves. And in hindsight, it was not a good thing. We're so influenced by the perceived norms of society that we often cave to that trend. Sometimes the trend goes against what resides within us. We see things differently. We interpret things differently. We understand things differently. It reminds me of Noah in the Bible. Talk about owning your own power. Can you imagine how he must have felt day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year? He was a lone star. Now, it would have been understandable if he succumbed to the trend, the ridicule, if he had succumbed to everything around him telling him that what he was doing was crazy. Yet he had enough faith in his power and the higher power, and enough resolve within himself to press forward, stay focused, and maintain his power. Sometimes we have to stand alone in what it is that we believe in. Sometimes we have to go against the trend. Sometimes we see beyond the moment and discern a different outcome than what the majority may see. We have to stand in our own truth. Whatever or whomever you may deem to be a higher power will sometimes drop a nugget in your spirit, and that nugget may be a foreign concept to the majority. I think when certain common electronic devices were first introduced, they were a foreign concept. Some could not even have imagined utilizing such a thing, but look how we depend on those foreign concepts today. We each have the power to manifest those things that we desire in our lives. We all have dreams and hopes, things we have always wanted to do or accomplish. I'm a witness that it can be done. At times, it may seem unimaginable, but if you can visualize it, you can actualize it. I've had the vision of certain dreams that I desired to fulfill, and I took a day and simulated what it would be like to live in the manifestation of that dream. I jotted down what I thought would need to happen or occur to really make this dream come to life. It was a powerful exercise because it helped me to see that the manifestation was more realistic than I initially thought. If we've learned nothing else in the season of 2020, we've learned that life and time are precious. I say this often because it bears repeating. Life and time are precious. So we need to live now. Live for today. Do you have a dream? Something you desire to achieve? Visualize it. Walk it out. Write the plan. Begin the journey. Own your own power and manifest your dreams. I'm Paula G. Voice. I'm a sagacious, independent lifestyle influencer. I'm embracing my own journey and sharing experiences along the way. And I'm challenging dreamers to do the same by breathing life into their deferred dreams and living out the reality. It's never too late to embrace your journey and live your dreams. Visit Paula's blog at paulagvoice.com for the full journey. This is Paula G. Voice, aka Lady Wisdom, with Beyond the Moment. It's sometimes difficult to see beyond the moment when you're in the midst of a crisis. But sometimes the vision of being beyond the moment is the very thing that may be needed to get you through the moment. Our society is laced with so many overwhelming events. It seems like they come one right after the other, and they don't allow you the space to breathe or recover. We get so burdened, discouraged, and depressed that we often find it difficult to move on. There's a Bible verse that mentions weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Well, life can be like that as well. And the moment may be that of heavy times, but we must look beyond the moment with hope and faith. look beyond the moment, and keep hope alive. I'm Lady Wisdom, a sagacious lifestyle influencer, embracing my journey, sharing experiences along the way and challenging dreamers to do the same by breathing life into their deferred dreams and living out the reality. It's never too late to embrace your journey and live your dreams. Visit Paula's blog, paulagvoice.com/blog for the full journey. This is Paula G. Voice, aka Lady Wisdom with Endurance. The unimaginable happens, and you have no idea how you'll make it through. Sometimes you feel as though you don't even want to bother. Yet we all have those moments at one point in time or another. There is life on the other side of that storm. Those moments when you must dig deep within and find the strength to endure. Rise from the ashes. There are those moments when you can't see beyond the moment. There are those moments when you don't want to hear. There's life on the other side of this, because this is so traumatizing, you can't see it. How we choose to manage our circumstances is totally a ball that is in our court. We fall down, but we get up. We plunge to the deepest, darkest part of our being, but something inside of us longs to survive. We find ourselves fighting to rise out of the darkness. It's a slow journey, but we eventually see the light at the end of the tunnel. I always say that every day we wake up is an opportunity to set an example. It's an opportunity to change things. It's an opportunity to do better, to grow, and to heal. Someone made the analogy about eating an elephant one bite at a time. Now, literally, we're not in the habit of eating elephants. But when faced with inconvenient situations, impossible situations, we must take one step at a time, one day at a time. We all have endured some situations in our lives that has almost taken us to the point of no return. If we take our eyes off the moment and focus on where it is we desire to be, our goal, our destiny, we can take the necessary steps to see our way through difficult times. Now, sometimes it may take therapy, prayer, meditation, and daily affirmations that help you make it through. Our lives are so full of difficult moments, but we must focus on the good times, the great events, the joys. As with any storm, tornado, hurricane that leaves destruction in its path, life goes on afterwards. Life may not ever be the same. Life may look different.
Stories help us to understand the world around us. They allow us to laugh. They allow us to cry. They give us the ability to feel and provide us with an outlet to heal. Join me as I get to know some of the amazing people behind the stories that we read in order to truly discover the story that has been hidden within each of us. My name is Bree Smith, and this is the Author Push Talk Show. Welcome to the Author Push Talk Show. I'm your host, Bree Smith. Today we have an incredible guest.
Her name is Ray Lee. She's going to be talking about her children's book, Big Trucks, Big Trucks. I cannot wait to hear more about this. So welcome to our show today, Ray Lee. So can you tell the people a little bit more about yourself?
Yes. Again, my name is Ray Lee. I am the author of Big Truck, Big Truck. I am a children's author and also a writer. And I am from the Midwest, and I love writing, reading, and all that great stuff, and anything that's fun and educational.
Amen. Amen. What part of the Midwest are you from?
Illinois, not Chicago, but like the southern part. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. So
okay, up the road, down the street, neighbor. Okay.
Okay. I live out here on the East Coast now, but yes, still feel like I'm more Midwestern than Southern. Everybody's like, oh, nah, Kentucky South. I'm like, I live right across from Indiana, so I consider myself Midwest.
Because we know those Southern Kentucky folk a little different. So
way different. Yes. Well, I also know that you are a counselor too. So yes. Do you do children? Do you specialize in children counseling, or do you do like more adult counseling?
More adult counseling. I love working with children. I have done counseling with children, but I know that my specialty is more with adults. And I'll say that I'm really good with children, but that is a population where you can't just save all those kids and take them home with you. So, I have to be mindful of, making sure I have boundaries there when it comes to that, because some of the things that children are going through in their homes or in foster care or something like that, it's a lot to take in, and you don't want them to leave because you don't know sometimes they're going to be safe, So I realized that that's probably not my area.
Right. And it's so funny you say that, because I know this is so funny how the Lord brings everything back full circle. But when I first went to college and undergrad, I actually got my degree in psychology. And sitting there saying, at that time, I was like, do I continue on? Do I continue doing psychology? Do I go on social work? And then I sat there and said, you know what? I don't want to take these people's problems home with me. I don't want that, because I feel it's going to be a burden, right? So anyway, long and behold, I ended up working my way up the corporate ladder. And, at that point, I don't feel fulfilled. I feel burnt out. And I realized I'm really like counseling my employees. I'm not at that point really, I'm leading them, but I have to counsel them. And I'm like, I might as well just kind of switch and start using my degree. And so after that, after I came out of the corporate field, I actually went into therapeutic day treatment counseling in the school system. Now, mind you, I've never wanted to work with kids. I did not, because of my own trauma growing up. But I was just like, man, look, I could do adults. I ain't trying to handle these kids. And then this in middle school. But what I found was I loved it. I loved working. But like you said, I felt like there was a lot of issues that I saw that the school system wasn't providing, even within our own services, that we were not providing for those children. And me being me, try to be like superhero. I'm trying to take on all these issues, and I'm like, sis, these ain't your kids. First and foremost, these ain't your kids. That's true. You know what I mean? And secondly, you can't do that by yourself. Like that's still the responsibility of the parent. That's still the responsibility of the school. You know what I mean? And so that did start to take a toll on me. But I do realize that a lot of that stemmed from childhood and dealing with a lot of trauma for myself, right? Because I was abused growing up. By my father, and just growing up in that abusive household, seeing my mom being abused, seeing my, being abused myself, you know what I mean? Like that took a toll on me. And even like the, how I saw the world, right? Really took a toll on me. So I commend anyone who is out there and you can handle that. I can handle it to an extent, I would say.
Yes.
I do find it fascinating because I ended up writing, that's how we connected. I ended up writing a children's book based off my testimony. You know what I mean? Based off what happened to me as a child. And then you wrote this children's book. So what inspired you to write a children's book instead of like, maybe writing like a regular novel or a memoir?
which is weird. And I'm going to say this because, you know, for years, I've always written like adult content, whether it's short stories, a little bit of a novel here and there. And I never published anything. And so I wrote my first children's book, I think in 2009. I just typed it up, put it away, nothing fancy. It was cute story. Then after a while, you know, I'll still write other things. And then the children books, they start flowing a lot more. And I don't know if that was God saying, oh no, you're going to write something. You're going to put out something. And everything I would write, you know, via, you know, whether it's inspirational things or anything, I would put it away. But the children book, this is what came first. And I don't know if I wasn't just being obedient or what. I just wasn't really sure about if writing was really going to pay off, you know? I think that's what it was, you know?
Right. So can you tell us a little bit more about Big Trucks?
Yeah, so Big Truck, actually, this is so random. This is why I know it's random. I was in a car with my daughter in May of 2020, and I saw this semi truck going through the intersection. And the truck, you know, I said, Big Truck, where are you going? My daughter repeated after me and said, Big Truck, where are you going? And so I asked him, do you know where do you think he's going? What do you think's in his truck? And I started to have a conversation about logistics and transportation and how it affects the economy and our communities. And so, I mean, not just semis, dump trucks, you know, delivery trucks. We had a fun and great conversation about that. And I talked to her about this, and I figured like other kids may want to know about this as well, but I didn't want to bog them down with logistics and all that great stuff, but I wanted them to know about it, but in a fun way, and get them to start thinking about when they're at the store, when they go to the store, when they see a truck, whether it's a fire truck, anything, like what's happening with this truck? You know, how is it serving us in the community?
That. Yes, I love that. So with your book, I know you've been doing a lot of stuff with schools, but you know what I just thought about? Have you did anything? I don't know. Somehow I was thinking like connecting that with like economics or economy.
Not yet, but I think that's a good area as well. I haven't yet, so that's a good idea, Bree. Thank you for that.
For real, like that just came to me because I was like, that'd be kind of something cool to like go into a social studies class and maybe kind of create like some type of, you know, workshop or something where like the kids can really do something with that. I think that'd be excellent. I mean, I don't know, it just came to me, you know, I'd be fluent sometimes, but
yeah, I didn't show the book, but I just want to show it because it's so colorful. Like it's an amazing book. And it's actually a dump truck on the front of it. It's not a semi, because this character pretty much brought it to life, I think, you know? Yeah. And Calvin Reynolds did the illustration.
Yes. So what inspired you to be a writer? You said you've always loved writing and things like that. So is that just like a hobby or a passion of yours?
Honestly, I think it's a quiet passion. You know, it's one of those things that you know you can do, but you think that you're better at other things. Hence me pursuing other areas as far as like counseling. And it's weird, Bree, that you said about I was actually a business major. Oh, wow. So I was not even listen, I'm with you with the mental health, not mental health, but like people's problems, right? And so, but I switched over from business to psychology, and I was almost done with my business degree, but I really like psychology. And so I pursued all those other interests, and I still would write, but I would just tuck it away. I would send out like these inspirational messages every morning to my family and friends and things like that. And I'll get them, they'll come back and say, so one of my friends always said like, so you don't want your own like Hallmark cards or something like that? You don't want to do anything with this? I'm like, yeah, eventually I'm going to, but you know, I was just pursuing everything else.
Right. I understand that. So have you thought about writing like any books, like memoirs, or just like any books for adults or anything? Or are you just gonna stick with the children's thing?
Honestly, I have one novel in my mind. Like it's not done, but it's there. I have it, but I do have a couple novels that I've actually started and I haven't finished. And so I think eventually I will publish those. I do have a compilation of short stories, and maybe some of them I can branch them off and maybe make them novels as well.
Okay, that'd be cool. So are you thinking like you like more like fiction than nonfiction writing?
Yeah, I like more fiction. I do. That way, you know, you can do a little bit more, I feel like, with the characters. You know what I mean? Nonfiction, and you know, it's the truth is the truth, you know, you know. So, but I definitely love fiction. I love, and I read everything, just about everything. Not so much romance, but I would say that fiction, I would probably write something more fiction wise.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I definitely understand that. Me, I want to do both. I want to write more fiction. There's still a couple within my children's book series I know I have to work on. But I also want to work on my memoir. And like I said, there's a couple other books I know God has graced me to write. And so I'm like, I love to write. Like, that's just my passion. I love writing, but I also love to read. Like, I'm a huge reader. You know, of course, growing up, it was more fiction. But as I got older, I love, like, I'm reading all kind of books. Like, I like, you know, mainly a lot of like self-help books.
Yes.
You know, a lot of books on faith. Books on business, leadership, you know, so just stuff that just like truly to help me to grow as a person. So do you read a lot of books too?
I do. Actually, I did get your children's book. I didn't post it yet, but I do have that. I read a lot. And many of the ones that you actually named, devotionals, faith-based, I read. I like mystery. I like mystery. I like a little bit of drama. I like that suspense. Love those. And then, of course, I do like a little bit of the sci-fi stuff as well. So you know, I have a variety of things that I read, and of course, you know, poetry I love. And so, so yeah, I love just about all books. I'm not a romance buff. It loses me. It loses me because maybe I can't conceptualize what's happening in a lot of the scenes, and it seems so cheesy. So I just don't like it.
Oh wow, you know, and it's funny because I know back in the day, before I got married, I would read like a lot of romance novels. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like romance novels do get you caught up because you'll be sitting there having this ideology of who your person's supposed to be. And then when you get with somebody, you're like, hey, you ain't like how this book portrayed.
Yes, exactly.
You know? And so I feel like they set us up for unrealistic expectations, you know. But you know, I'll read. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I do love a lot of rom-com movies, so romance comedy movies. So
right.
That. But you know, I'll read it on occasion if it's something good.
That's right. It has to be something good, but I think that I realize how much it has affected me not liking it, because even in an action movie and they have a love story, and I'm like, I'll fast forward. I'm like, okay, what are we doing? Because we are in a crisis. We should not be kissing right now. You know what I mean? That's my mindset.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I do think like that too. Like, okay, survival mode. You know, that is so funny. So do you hear from a lot of your readers and stuff like that?
I do. I have actually, I got a text yesterday regarding a teacher, my sister who lives in Savannah. Her neighbor's a teacher, and so she took the book to her class, she read it, and the parents sent her pictures and said, please get us to the author. And they were like, we love your book, it's amazing. I have people just all over reaching out saying this is an amazing book. I went to this corporate vending event recently, and this lady said, hey, I saw you in December, and I just want you to know that my grandkids love this book. And they have a drawing. She sent me an email, and he drew a picture of Big Truck, and I posted it on social media. And I happened to see her that same day, and I showed it to her, and we took a picture together, excuse me, so she can show her grandson, hey, I told you I really know this author. I met her, you know? So yeah, I've been getting a lot of response saying that it's fun, it's educational, and kids are excited to hear about Big Truck, Big Truck. Yes.
Man, I love that, sis. Listen, I really do, girl. You need to make something like a workshop, family workshop or something with that. I think something dope because I think the kids would love that, especially if you get all the little toys, you know how them boys are, get all the trucks and vehicles. Like, yes, you know.
Yes, I agree.
I love that. I love that. So what do you like about being a children's book author?
I like it. I like, excuse me, I like being a children's book author because it helps you stay youthful, right? It helps you look at things through a child's eyes and realize that, you know, we can definitely take life serious, but also still have fun while we're learning, while we're growing. And with kids, you know, they're like sponges. So that it is very intriguing to me. So I am always just in awe of children and watching them and seeing them develop. You know, it's just such a beautiful thing. And so I think that there's always a lot of material there to write with.
Amen. Amen. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I love being I don't just like to call myself a children's book writer, but because that's like my first books that I've written. Yeah, I love writing children's books for that very reason alone too. And especially when you start to go to the different trade shows and the book tours and you meet the kids and they are like interacting with you and they're interacting with the book. You know, I love it. And this families come together. I absolutely love that.
I agree. I agree.
So as a child, what did you want to do when you grew up?
So I would say that I don't know. I take it back. I do know. So I wanted to be a lawyer or a coroner. I know that's so random. So I love science and math growing up, but I also love reading and I love words and the way that they tie together and how they can help develop a wonderful story. But I honestly probably would have gone to law school. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I can see you being a lawyer too. For sure. Yeah, as a child, I wanted to be so many things. I don't think I was ever consistent. As my mom said, she was like, hey, you jump around from thing to thing. She'd be like, I'm gonna play this flute, play the flute. I don't know about that. I'm gonna do the violin. I'm telling you, it just
oh wow.
But I appreciate that because I feel like I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades. I would say the thing that stuck with me consistently was definitely doing stuff in ministry and then definitely doing business and writing. Okay. I will say, and which is
those are your areas. Okay.
Yeah, and so I definitely do appreciate that. Love that. Yes, I do. Okay, girl. Well, is there anybody you would like to shout out or anything like that?
I would say my daughter. She's amazing. She's absolutely an inspiration to me. Just to not only continue to pave the way for her, as many people have done for you and myself. She's always my cheerleader. She's always encouraging me, and she's probably the first person that made me introduce myself as a writer, as an author. I'm serious. Well, as an author, I should say. I remember we were somewhere, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you know, my name is Ray," and she was just like, and they were asking me what do I do, and I was telling them about counseling, right? And she's like, "Oh no, she's an author. No, she's an author."
Wow.
Her name is Ray Lee. Her book is Big Truck, and she writes great stuff. And like I'm like she's 8.
Yes, go mama. Yes, I love it. I'm telling you, at that age, it's like you got so much empowerment and power. You like, look, no, you know, like I'll tell you, and I love it. And I just wish as adults we still kept that same energy, right, and that same. And I know it's because, you know, as you get older, you realize what life is and you go through trials and tribulations. But it's just like to keep that childlike wonder and excitement.
Yes.
I love that. I do. So where can everybody get your book?
Yes, you can get Big Truck on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Books A Million. Yep.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Ray. I appreciate it, girl. And you are always welcome back in the future for any other projects that you are doing. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Bree. It's always great to see you, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for having me.
Yes, no problem. Well, thank you guys for watching the Author Push Talk Show today. It's been a great, amazing day. Please connect with me. I would love to hear any testimonies that you guys have, or if there's any authors out there that is interested in being on the show, please connect with me. You can do so at my email address, which is breesmithglobal@gmail.com. Please feel free to look me up on IG. It is Bree Smith Official. And also, please feel free to look me up on my Facebook page, Author Push Media Services. So you can look that up as well. So once again, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye. Bye.